we have set restrictions on operations for other institutions in this area that have much more expansive hours than what we're allowing for here. We also have churches that have no restrictions whatsoever, not only in College Heights, but, you know, frankly, in the city at large. So it's difficult for me to sit there and pick one church and say, you're going to have much more limited hours. And as alluded to in some conversations in College Heights, and having experienced them myself, we have issues that go far beyond this with regards to meetings. I mean, we're talking about having meetings. We're not talking about the parties and the other things that go on in College Heights. So I'm going to go ahead and move the resolution granting special use permit for St. Mary's. I am going to put a caveat, if I may, that staff comes back within 6 months with a how did it work, everything going along, what kind of complaints do we have, how we dealt with those complaints, so we can take a look at the situation. I know we can't make any substantive changes, but we might be able at that point to sit down and have some serious conversations with the church just to make sure moving forward we address those issues. Mike, you've got my phone number, and I know you'll be giving me calls whenever it happens, and I understand that. We'll deal with that. But so with that caveat, I'll go ahead and move the resolution.
I just want to say first, I do appreciate St. Mary's efforts to work with the College Heights Civic Association and city staff and residents. And I do appreciate all the religious and community good works and deeds that are done by staff and parishioners. I am going to vote to approve this with just some personal caveats, and that the understanding that it's not a religious issue, it's a property issue, in the sense that this accumulation of property pretty much doubles the size of the St. Mary's property in that area. And there is concern about, further expansion in residential area. One of the, I think it was a letter writer tonight, spoke about it being a very sought-after neighborhood, which it is, for residents. We have been very concerned about removing residential property from homeowner use, and that remains a concern. That we are looking for ways to expand housing stock and not reduce it for residents of the city. I was a long-term resident of College Heights. I do know the both positive and negative impact that expansion of the church has on parking, on just traffic through the neighborhood, on both pedestrian and vehicular traffic, and to some extent limiting the enjoyment of other residents of the neighborhood on use of their property when there is pretty much constant parking and issues in the neighborhood. So I would very much suggest to St. Mary's that when you're looking to further expand programs, because many of the programs that are done could be housed in other locations, that you understand the impact on our small city and look for expansion outside city limits for some of your programs and for some of your parishioners. Again, we certainly appreciate St. Mary's being a partner in downtown, but the impact, works both ways. So anyway, thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for being part of our city.
To have a meeting space that can start as early as 6:30 and go till 9:30 almost every day of the week, every day but Sunday, and Saturday's not quite that early. That's a concern. So that's how I feel about it, and that's why I'll vote against it. But it's not that I feel antipathy toward the church and what it does. It is a real gem, and it's important for us to recognize that. I just have concerns about the use of those properties at those hours. Thank you.
I had a breakdown at this exact seat about 2 months ago about murder in the city. We had some issues where we had 2 of our teenagers being murdered, and it happened within 90 days of each other. And I had an actual breakdown sitting here at the council chambers. And one of the public comment speakers earlier mentioned something that we were working to engage youth violence, things like that. My point in saying that is, it may sound like it's off key a little bit, but it's not. The fact that you never know what's going on, and the fact that there is a church, not saying you guys are the only church, but there is a church that's having some type of activities going on during the course of the day. You never know who could knock on that door for some type of help or a crisis. So I just wanted to throw that out there in the air, the fact that we're talking about hours which go with service.
Because as people who live in Fredericksburg but work further north, it's so very easy to lose that sense of community. And it's so very easy to feel that sense of isolation when you spend so much time commuting back and forth. And I think that keeping the hours, particularly in the evening, going later, I think is so vitally important. I might not be a parishioner at St. Mary's myself, but I can recognize the need to provide that sense of community, that sense of belonging, that outlet that I think is so needed for all of us, just being human. And as a result, I will be supporting this SUP with these hours, and I am just I'm just hoping that St. Mary's will continue and that the parishioners will continue to be good, respectful neighbors to those in the College Heights neighborhood. Recognize that there are people around you, going to bed, who have maybe their own early morning to get up and get on that VRE the next day. So I simply ask that you extend the courtesy for those who might be going in the later evening or in the early morning hours, and to serve as that example that I'm sure you all wish to be.
It's been a good give and take. I'm going to support this motion. My feeling is that any further limiting of the ancillary church use after hours gives me pause, because it's not consistent with residential use. Residential uses don't end at 5 p.m. or at 7 p.m. I think there's a line that we could cross where it would be could be discriminatory against the church, and I don't want to get near that line. So I think the compromise that's been worked out between staff and St. Mary's on the hours for those two addresses is reasonable. I don't see any reason to question it, and I will be supporting the motion.